Sure, I'll watch every version of Joan of Arc. There can't be that many, right? There are so many adaptions of this story, and I watched as many as I could get my hands on, but this is certainly still not all of them. FYI, this does not include anything from before the 1940s and no films where Joan is a side character. Although I was tempted, personally having gone through a Kamikaze Kaito Jian phase in high school, anime about a magical girl reincarnation of Joan of Arc, this does not contain any animated options either. First, a bit of context. Joan of Arc was a French peasant girl born around 1412 who claimed to be guided by divine visions. Eventually, she was tried for heresy and burned at the stake in 1431 at just 19 years old. Decades later, she was declared innocent, and in 1920, she was canonized as a saint by the Catholic Church. In order of release, the first version we're looking at is the US film Joan of Arc, based on Maxwell Anderson's successful Broadway play Joan of Lorraine. Joan is a farm girl, terrified of what the voices in her head are telling her to do. She believes she hears the voice of God and his angels, telling her she alone has the destiny to lead France's army against the English and crown the weak heir to the throne. But in order to do this, she has to fearlessly be tested and partake in a battle of wills against a corrupt king and church. Even if she has the backing of the king, will the army follow a woman into battle? Can men get past the blasphemous act of a woman not wearing a dress? This has very straightforward and intense storytelling, spanning from when Joan first answers to the call of God up until the end of her life. The film's main focus is Joan's faith and the goal of rallying France against the English and the Burgundians, despite being surrounded by corruption. It's driven entirely by Joan's actress, Ingrid Bergman, who delivers a very innocent and naive version of Joan. Her performance is nuanced and deep. The only thing holding her back is the writing, which at times made her one-dimensional. And for me, the other actors fell into the background. The production design and costumes are on the high end of stunning classic Hollywood style, which I appreciated, and the music is gorgeous and fits the tone perfectly. There are a few battle sequences, but these are some of the weakest and least convincing scenes. Overall, a good classic movie with a few above par individual elements for the time. But at no time did it captivate me, and I doubt I would watch it again. Released in 1948, 145 minutes, rated 14+ for mild profanity and violence. The next one we're looking at is the US and UK film Saint Joan, adapted from the 1923 George Bernard Shaw play. King Charles VII of France is visited in his dreams by Joan of Arc. They recount how they first met. Joan, an eager and positive young peasant girl, brimming with energy and ready to carry out God's commands. And the king, a silly and reluctant heir with little to no real power. We watch Joan's journey and how she was able to inspire armies, but ultimately was betrayed by everyone around her, even her king. Other ghostly figures also visit the king in his sleep, and together they look back on their choices and the consequences. This film couldn't decide if it's a drama or a comedy. Joan is fiery and an eternal optimist, to the point of frustration for those around her. The king is a comedy act all on his own. I outright laughed multiple times. Soldier: we're waiting for the wind to change. Nope, not gonna happen. Joan: oh, let me pray. Give me 2 seconds. Wind changes. Soldier: oh my God, it's God! Charge, men, charge! While most of the supporting cast was very good, and I particularly enjoyed parts of Joan's trial, unfortunately for me, the actress for Joan was just a bit too one-dimensional and did not have the character depth to carry this movie. Not a bad movie, and I still enjoyed the comedy, but probably not for those of you looking for a serious retelling of Joan's story. Any and all fight scenes happen off-screen. Released in 1957, 110 minutes, rated 13+ for mild violence in the form of off-screen torture. Next up, a French short film, The Trial of Joan of Arc. The film is about exactly what the title says, the trial. It starts when Joan has already been in prison for several months. It's made clear that the English court is purposely attempting to find whatever they can to execute her. This is a somber and factual recounting of her faith being tested by constant interrogation, torture, and her virginity examined, based on historical texts of the trial and the rehabilitation trial that happened 25 years after her death. This is not a cinematic film meant to entertain. We're watching a strong woman, calm and consistent in her convictions, remain steadfast amidst a group of men out to condemn her. Being so used to fast-paced spectacles, it took a minute to adjust to this admittedly extremely slow-paced and dialogue-heavy style. It's also very minimalistic in its production value, so the focus is entirely on the dialogue. I think if I had started with this as my first introduction to Joan, I would have been very bored. However, after having watched the previous few versions, I did find it interesting. Released in 1962, 65 minutes, rated 12+ for implied non-consensual interactions and intense scenes. Up next is the French two-part film, Joan the Maid. The film begins with Joan already traveling, heeding God's instruction to look for a captain who will take her to meet the Dauphin. Along the way, her steadfast character and belief that God has sent her to save France convinces many to believe and help her. It's a detailed and realistic, more introspective look at Joan's life from when she first leaves home until her death. Part 1 focuses on her becoming a military leader and battles. The second part focuses on her capture, trial, and martyrdom. From my brief bit of research, apparently this is the version that most emphasizes historical accuracy. It just wasn't for me. There was no exposition giving any kind of historical context, which I think would confuse most viewers. All the performances were subdued, and scenes took a long time. The camera would sometimes drift to the side at the end of the scene and just hang out there for a couple extra seconds. On top of that, there is no background music at all. For me, this made it terribly long and boring. I also have to point out that it was a strange choice for the actress for Joan, who is supposed to be a teenager. Up till now, in the other films, I just accepted it as close enough, but this actress looks like she's at least in her mid-30s. There is really only one battle, and it's extremely small scale. I don't think you battle fans would be satisfied. Released in 1994, 2 films together 336 minutes, rated for all ages. Now it's time for French film, The Messenger, the story of Joan of Arc. Joan is a happy child until tragedy and trauma strikes. She takes solace in God and receives her visions. This Joan is a warrior, and she will proudly carry her banner and sword into battle, despite the bloody consequences. Along the way, she makes friends with other soldiers on the battlefield, as well as enemies. She must ask herself the question, did she do it for God or for herself? Overall, I liked it. First off, yay, context! It starts off by giving us a full look at what is going on in the country, and even a little on how we got there, which I always appreciate in historical films. Besides that, up till now, Joan has been portrayed as pure, completely convinced that what she's doing is God's work. This is the first time we see doubt in her character. She is incredibly intense, and there is definitely some crazy behind those eyes. Something I really liked was all the side characters. This isn't just about Joan, it's about the king and his advisors. It's also about all the men surrounding her who have their own backgrounds and motivations. This has definitely been the most war-focused version so far. The fighting is gory and at times disturbing. I think you fans of historical war movies would like this one. Released in 1999, it's 158 minutes, rated 18+ for brutal war violence and sexual violence. Next is the Canadian miniseries, Joan of Arc. After witnessing the brutality of war at a young age, Joan's dream is that France will unite as one kingdom. The divine voices of angels and saints come to her, and she leaves to fulfill her destiny. Without even trying, the people begin to call her the Maiden of Lorraine. But is she? The king and his mother-in-law are cunning, and whether she is the real deal or not, they see the potential she brings to motivate the people. Joan must make friends who will support her against the English. But regardless of what happens, it's all God's plan. This is the perfect version of Joan of Arc if you are introducing her to a younger audience. Think Disney version, but she still dies at the end. At times, it almost feels more like a teenage fantasy epic than a strict historical retelling. The visuals, the atmosphere, and the larger-than-life nature of Joan's mission all combine to create something that feels magical rather than grounded in reality. What I loved is the actress for Joan. She was the first so far who was the right age and pulled off exactly what I didn't realize I was looking for up till now. I also appreciated that it doesn't force the viewer to believe whether her voices are real or not. It's up to the audience, while still making Joan a likable and interesting person. My largest criticism is the length. It felt very drawn out in places, and I feel they could have shaved off at least 30 minutes. Released in 1999, 2 episodes, together 180 minutes. Rated 13+ for blood and mild violence. Next up would be the French film The Silence of Joan from 2011. Sadly, I can't find it anywhere. It doesn't have great reviews, but still, I really would like to see it. If anyone knows where I can find it, please let me know. So now, let's talk about the French film, Jeannette, the childhood of Joan of Arc. Yes, I practiced how to try to say that name more French-like. I probably still failed. 8-year-old Jeannette watches over her sheep, lamenting to a friend and nuns about the suffering of her people. She struggles with her growing spiritual calling and her desire to help free her country from the English. Her emotions are expressed through singing, dancing, and headbanging to modern metal music. She even gets a chance to headbang with the saints. Eventually, she is older, and now she must make the decision whether to headbang herself away from home to become the legendary Joan of Arc. This is one of the strangest movies I have ever seen. I have to wonder about the concept. Hey, we should make a movie about Joan of Arc's childhood. But all we'll have her do is complain about the English while singing and dancing to modern metal music. Genuinely not even trying to be mean here, but the singing wasn't even very good. Except for Jeannette's young friend, a decent voice on that one. The dancing was so strange, a mix between awkward teenager hip-hop and whimsical child interpretive dance. I am more interested in watching the outtakes of this movie. They must have burst into laughter so many times while doing this. All in all, I could not take this seriously and after a while was really bored. I had a hard time finishing it. Released in 2017, 115 minutes, rated for all ages. Last on this list, French film, Joan of Arc. This is the sequel to the last film we just talked about. It picks up in the years following Joan's initial military victories. Having fought against the English in service of France, she is eventually captured by the Burgundians. The story then follows her trial for heresy and ends with her death. Oh boy, I thought the last one was weird. This one was just monotonous. There are huge stretches of time where Joan is just staring at the screen with no emotion while a voice is singing in the background telling us the story. It was also a strange choice that the actress for Joan looks like she's 10 years old, when at this point she's supposed to be an older teenager. I suppose this is meant to be artistic and experimental. At one point it seems like we're gearing up for a battle, but instead it's just a parade of horses maneuvering in different directions, which I think was meant to represent the battle. I did think it was funny that it seemed like the horses were almost dancing to the drum beat, but after 8 minutes of this or so, I was just done. The cinematography is great, and the cathedral they filmed in was gorgeous. But yeah, this could not hold my attention at all. Released in 2019, 137 minutes, rated for all ages. So, which version of Joan of Arc do you think you'd enjoy best? If you're looking for classic Hollywood style with beautiful art and a good leading lady, Joan of Arc from 1948 is your best bet. If you want a more lighthearted, comedic version of the story, check out Saint Joan from 1957. The Trial of Joan of Arc from 1962 is best watched only if you've seen another version first or done some research. Then you might find it interesting. I would say Joan the Maid from 1994 is your best bet if you don't want any of the cinematic frills and just want to watch the most accurate film version available. The Messenger, the story of Joan of Arc from 1999 is the one for you if you're looking for the most bloody battle scenes and morally gray Joan. If you want to watch an actual teenager play Joan and the story feel a bit more fantasy and less historical tragedy, the Joan of Arc from 1999 is a good choice. Jeannette, the childhood of Joan of Arc from 2017 is absolutely for you if you want to watch young, heavy metal Joan of Arc and dancing nuns. I don't know who I would recommend Joan of Arc from 2019 to. Maybe if you're just curious. Have you seen any of these? Or are you thinking about watching one? Are there any I missed that everyone should know about? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. There have actually already been 3 more versions of the story announced, so it sounds like there will be plenty more to choose from soon. Thank you so much for watching. Please check out my playlists for more movie and TV comparisons and how to watch historical media in chronological order. Happy watching!